talking about the exhibition again now, like who had the concept of starting this? Who initiated that? What was the initial framework?
Well, we were both part of the Synapse International Curators Network, which is based in Berlin, and working on art and science collaborations.
Ah, okay.
And Sophie's work on the history of ethnographic museums and my interest in this particular fixation on Wallace maybe began to percolate.
Yeah.
And we're both quite influenced by the curator, American curator Lucy Lepard, who did a series of shows using the population number of the city as a line in. So in Jakarta it would be 14,100,000 something. And so we thought, wow, this is a really interesting, what if we really tried to focus on collecting? What was the collection, and why was this collection so massive, so rogue in a way?
Right.
And that unfolded quite naturally, the way in which we could then start to bring in collection, artifacts, work with Lippi, work with the artists, and all of those things would have a role and a place.
And talking about collection, for example, Indonesians are not very strong in data collection. I mean, maybe we collect data, but somebody is not actually putting them together. And has this changed in Indonesia? Have you seen that? Have you been encountering problems, for example, in obtaining data, I don't know, collections maybe, in that sense? Some more precise information, for example.
No,
I mean, Lippi is a world-class institution. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, and our process exchange and collaboration with Lippi has been phenomenal,
Right.
and there has been no problems in loaning.
Updated or?
Well, of course, the important thing is that there's still ongoing research, zoological research, botanical research through Lippi. I actually had the good fortune of seeing them do a briefing after one of their field sites. And so there is an ongoing process of updating that collection. I mean, the richness of Indonesia, I mean, you cannot exhaust this with as huge as Lippi is.
I thought you can. It's very finite, especially nowadays.
But in terms of the research, the being able to study those changes, of course, those transformations, the land use changes, put pressure on the environment. But there is such a richness to study that, of course, Lippi is very busy. But they've been incredibly generous, and I think that their collection, having been in many natural history collections, is a world-class collection with world-class scientists, and we're incredibly grateful to be working with their collection and featuring it in the show. Not only that, but they have brought out for the first time ever on exhibition a series of glass plate negatives from the early 20th century, 1910s and 20s, of the history of plantations, botanical specimens, and a whole series of photographs that have never been shown any time in Indonesia. And so that will be an absolutely spectacular part of the show, and hopefully people who are interested in the history of Indonesia, the history of land use, will come and pay particular attention to that piece.
Like in terms of exhibition, are you talking about how many items on displays?
That's a very good question.
Oh.
I'm just curious. I mean, I just want to know the scale of this exhibition.
It's a large miscellaneous collection.
Especially since it has many things all at the same time.
Yes, many things all at the same time. We have one large gallery space that's not even divided into different rooms, so everything coexists in the same space. And we have built an architecture for the display structure, which consists of 29 tables, very large tables, and they're arranged in the space, kind of like an archipelago itself. I'm still working on the work list, finalizing all of the objects. So
this is 2 weeks. 2 weeks before.
Not even 2 weeks. 10 days. 15th of August is the opening. So
15th of August.
7 more working days, and then we will be able to count the exact objects.
How will it be structured, if I may ask? Is it through the journey, following the journey, or is it by topic, by subject, or by
affinity and by the journey? So in the center of the gallery, as Sophie said, 29 tables of various materials, artworks, specimens, archive documents, and then on the perimeter, a series of narrative panels of Wallace's journey, photographs, documentation, and so there are a number of routes. But one of my favorite things about going to an exhibition is saying, should I go and see this? Should I? Oh, what's
that's a problem, not
so,
a favorite thing. But for me, what am I going to see first? Is there a flow going, or you're open to it's open to your?
I think it's a choose your own adventure path.
Wow.
in a way that when Wallace arrived in Indonesia, he said, well, there's things I'd like to find, there's people I want to see and meet, but in Indonesia, as we have learned, and as I'm sure you know, you go with how it flows.
You go with what happens.
Yes.
You cross the bridge when you cross it.
The exhibition says if you're drawn to the work in the corner, go and pursue that. But it's an itinerary of relationships with the geography narrative on the perimeter. But we hope it's a way of people finding their own connections to this story.
Right.
In a strange way, I think many people have some connection either to the geographical change, to the
particular connection.
Yeah, particular personal connections. Right. And so in a way, every visitor has a very personal experience. And maybe for some people who have grown up in those regions or have a familiarity with some of the other artworks, that's going to be a specific line. But I assure you, it will be incredibly compelling experience.
Another break is due now. Please stay with us. We'll be back